The NHL is terrified of the Montreal Canadiens as they continue their hot start to the season. Many of their star players are putting up ridiculous numbers, ridiculous stat lines. In this video, we're going to break down the key to the Montreal Canadiens' success early on this season and if they can keep it up going forward. So you're not going to want to miss this episode of Hat Trick HQ. But before we dive into everything here, we just want to say around the road for 19,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you want to stay up to date on all the NHL news, rumors, everything happening around the league, we're your home for it here on YouTube. So make sure you're down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, we got to jump right into the Montreal Canadiens here today as they win again last night in overtime, which puts them in sole lead of the Atlantic Division over the Detroit Red Wings by just 2 points, improving to 9-3 on the year. The Montreal Canadiens have jumped off the page this year and have had such a rampant start to the season that not a lot of people were expecting. They finished the year strong last year. They went to the playoffs, ultimately lost, but they took their, their sorrows from the loss and built it with it as a group, built with it as a team. And a lot of these players, they're young players that we're going to talk about in this video, are putting up some ridiculous numbers and dragging the Montreal Canadiens to the top of the Atlantic Division. And let's just say right here, as a Montreal Canadiens fan, this team has been so fun to watch. They've been so spectacular to watch. Towards the end of last season into the playoffs, but especially at the beginning of this season, they are, winning games late, tying them up, going to overtime and winning like they did last night, with Newhook scoring a big overtime winner. Demidov setting up an insane tic-tac passing play to get himself open in the slot for a one-timer to tie the game up. This team is just having an insane start to the year, and the chemistry that they have as a team is ridiculous. We're going to talk about all those guys a little bit later, but first I do want to talk about the overtime hero last night, which was Aleax Newhook. He's a fellow Newfie, I gotta say it. I'm from Newfoundland. I love Aleax Newhook on the Montreal Canadiens, but so far this season with the Habs, he has 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in 12 games, 8 even strength points, which is huge. Also averaging 15 minutes on ice a night. Also averaging almost 2 minutes a game on the penalty kill. And I must say the penalty kill has been very solid this year. And I think Newhook, that trade that they did for Newhook, I think is maybe going to go down as one of the best trades in this Kent Hughes era, because what he has done since joining this team has been nothing short of phenomenal. Obviously, he was showing that potential when he was in Colorado, but now coming over to Montreal, getting more minutes, Montreal relying on him in situations where they need a goal, where they need a penalty killed. This guy's going out there and getting the job done at only 24 years old. It is great to see Newhook pick it up this year. We've seen it last year, and I just think this year, obviously he's almost a point per game player right now. He could get to that marker, but I think what we've seen out of Newhook and what we've seen improvement from last year is a lot of the shots last year he was, hitting the post, he was hitting the crossbar. He couldn't find the back of the net, but now we see him take that big burst of speed that we know he has in him, but he's picking the corners like last night. He got, a lucky, muffin from the Ottawa Senators right in the middle of the ice. He skates down, picks the top corner, and that's the big difference we're seeing from Newhook so far early on this season. I love what I'm seeing from him. But we're going to move on to Cole Caufield. Crazy start to the year for Cole. He puts himself on the fewest to 10 games goals in a season. He now just under himself from last season where he did it in 11 games. Now he does it in 12 games, which adds him up on the list with, Pierre Turgeon and Mats Nazelin. These are big names in the NHL, in the history of the league. So great to see him put his name up with some of the greats, but we also see from Cole Caufield, he's the first Montreal Canadien with 10-plus goals and 5 assists in the first 12 games of a season since 1995. Yeah, that's a very long time ago, over 20 years ago that this has ever happened, or I guess it would be 30 years ago now. Time escapes you, but this is great to see. Obviously, Cole Caufield, he's every year I keep saying this is his year, he's going to hit 50. This is his year, he's going to hit 50. I think this is actually the year where he hits 50 goals. Just what we've seen so far out of him early on in this season. Yes, we did see it last year as well, but he just looks like he's a different animal. When he finds his position, where he finds, a comfortable spot where he can let that rocket of a shot off, he's finding the back of the net a lot of the time. And that top line right now, with Suzuki, who we're going to get to in a minute, and Slafkovsky and Caufield, these guys are just, they're generational. I mean, we knew what we had, but I don't think we really knew what we were going to see with this line, and we're seeing it right now. We've seen it at the beginning, we've seen it last season, but especially this season. I mean, last night, Suzuki setting up Slafkovsky for the no-look pass. You just know where the players are, where each other are going to be on the ice, and they're benefiting from that big time, especially Cole Caufield here. Nice to see him having a hot start. But getting into Nuck Suzuki here now, currently on a 11-game point streak, where he has 18 points in that 11-game span. Absolutely love it. Absolutely ridiculous numbers from Nuck Suzuki. Well over a point per game at this point. 16 assists, 2 goals, and I think it's great to see, Suzuki. Last year we did see him, scoring a lot of those late equalizers, those late goals to get them to overtime. This year we're seeing him, we've always known he's been a great playmaker, and we're seeing that take force here in Montreal this season with obviously having 16 assists to start the year. He's setting up Cole Caufield a lot, Salfkovsky a lot. Also, setting up a lot of plays, making them happen on the power play unit as well. Obviously, the captain has had a terrific start to the season, has been probably the key factor of the Montreal Canadiens' success so far is that Suzuki, every year, we're seeing him improve and improve and improve, and I can't believe that we're seeing him improve even more than what he was from last season. The same with Caufield as well. I didn't think these guys could get better, but it's just proven that these young talents with time get better and better every season, and we're seeing that with these young stars right now, and it's so great to see. And we're going to keep on moving here, where another player on that top line is Juraj Slafkovsky. We take a look at his stats compared from 22 to 2025. His expected goals per 60 was 2.7. His expected goals against per 60 was 3.01. His expected goals for percentage was 47%. But you see him so far this season, the goals for per 60, remaining around the same number, but that's just so far this season. The goals against per 60 is the thing to look at here, because I know a big criticism of Salfkovsky, a lot of Montreal fans, maybe a lot of outside Montreal Canadiens fans were saying when Salfkovsky first started was, man, that guy's out there for a goal every night. He can't, be defensive in his own end. But you see the number. You see it. It's dropped down almost half by, he's learning how to be defensive in his own end. He's learning how to use that big body that he has. We're seeing him finish a lot more hits. We're seeing him get a lot more chippy in these games, which is something I've wanted to see from Slafkovsky, which I love that we have seen that. And you see from the numbers here, expected goals for is going up. His expected goals against is going down, which is what you want to see. It's trending in the right way for Juraj Slafkovsky. I've always been riding with Juraj Slafkovsky, especially when people are saying, hey, maybe he wasn't the first overall pick we should have got. But I love what he's done to this top line, just adding that big body, the power forwardness to a line like a goal scorer with Suzuki and an elite playmaker, or a goal scorer like Caufield and an elite playmaker like Suzuki. He really complements this line, and that's something I do want to talk about next, which is obviously this top line. You see Salfkovsky, Suzuki, Caufield line, the top line for the Montreal Canadiens. They're 145 minutes so far this season. Their expected goals percentage is at 62%. So that basically means is when they're out on the ice, 62% of the time, this line is going to score a goal. So meaning over half the time that they're out there, this line is going to generate offense. It's going to generate a goal, which is absolutely ridiculous numbers. I mean, 62% is very high. You see Matheson and Dobson in the 54 percentile there. Obviously, Dobson was a great addition to this team this year. I've loved what I've seen from him so far. He's really, generating the quarterback. He's being the quarterback of this offense, 5v5, like we seen from Hutson last year. So we have two quarterbacks now. one on the first pairing, one on the second pairing, and we're seeing how well it is with how good this offense has been playing. And the other line there is Kapanen, Demidov, and Newhook, and I love seeing that being at 50% because obviously Demidov has made some ridiculous highlights this year, burning defenders, maybe sending them down to the AHL the next day at some point. But he has been ridiculous, and I think seeing him and his elite play, shape up with a guy like Newhook has really helped him, buzz as well. And one guy I think is probably one of the most underrated players on this team is Oliver Kapanen. I really do like his play. When I got the opportunity to see him play in the preseason in Toronto, I really loved his game, and I said, this guy's going to be something for the Montreal Canadiens, and he really is showing it at this point. And we got to talk about it. Everybody's talking about it. That is the goaltending situation in Montreal with Jakub Dobes. Jakub Dobes right now, 6-0-0 with a .930 save percentage, 1.97 goals against. He is looking like the best goalie, I would say, maybe biased in the NHL right now. And per his goals saved above expected stat, he is at 8.2, which puts him fourth, or actually tied for third with Thatcher Demko. So you see Jakub Dobes up there with the top goalies in the league, Hellebuck, Thompson, and Demko, and that's what we've seen so far. Obviously, they've half the starts with Dobes getting 6 and also Montembeault getting 6 as well. So it's looking right now, the numbers are trending obviously in Dobes' way, but it looks like they don't want to ride Dobes too hard or start him a lot, right away. I think they kind of want to ride the tandem for a bit. But right now, Dobes has looked like a tremendous goaltender in Montreal. And, I mean, the team's getting the job done, whether, Dobes is in the net. Well, obviously, it's 100% of the time when Dobes is in the net. But they are getting it done when Monty's in net as well, which is great to see. So, I love this. I think that the Montreal Canadiens are something to watch this year. They are a terrifying force that's ripping through the NHL right now, and I think there's no stopping this team. I think they're a bunch of young guys who got something to prove. They got to the playoffs last year, which nobody expected, and now they're out for blood. They want to get back there, and they want to win a Stanley Cup. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the Montreal Canadiens down below in the comment section. What's something I missed? Let me know down below. Love to hear from you guys. And what's your favorite thing about the Montreal Canadiens team this season? I'd love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed, leave a comment, subscribe, like the video. It helps us here a lot on the channel. But as always, I've been your host, KC. I'll catch you in the next one.